Hey, what it do? It's Friday afternoon for me, Grant Cohn, on the West Coast. That's Coach Noah Johnston, old friend of the show. You know where he is. He's chilling in Brazil because he's, fighting the feds. How you doing, man? Good to see you.
Yep. Yeah, fighting the feds. Yeah, I'm doing great, man. Doing great. How about you? Let me actually let me get some light in this room. It's like
No, I like the effect. You kind of look like that Chandler Jones effect going on. It's not too soon. All right, so it's Friday. We ain't got no job. We ain't got nothing to do. Let's talk football. Injury report is out. Here's what you need to know. Dre Greenlaw, questionable. Elijah Mitchell, questionable. Injured his knee yesterday in practice. Somehow, it's practice. Things happen. And then Deebo, questionable. Jauan Jennings, doubtful. I mean, sounds not as going to lose, right? I'm just kidding. But what do you think? You think Deebo's going to play? Do you think it matters? Does he play? Does it matter? Should he play?
I think he plays.
He says while taking a sip of Sprite. Why?
No, it's not Sprite. This is. I'm repping it's Starbucks, man. It's a Starbucks.
Oh, okay, cool.
Starbucks
Well,
stuff.
we sponsor our show, so we're not going to talk about them.
Oh, okay. So I think Deebo plays, and of course, I think Deebo matters, right? He's one of the better offensive weapons on the team. So, like, why
He's
wouldn't
good, but he's no Ray McCloud.
There is an argument to be made. I think, to me, like, in my opinion, I think the most expendable players are your running backs and then your wide receivers. So I think they're easy to find. Like, they're relatively easy to find, right? Yeah, he does play both.
What about wide backs, though? You can't just find wide backs. Aren't wide backs walking down the street? Or are there?
Deebo is pretty special, right? Because, like, I think you and I both agree he's one of the most unique wide receivers in the league. He's in, by all accounts, fantastic shape. And when the ball gets in his hands, he can score from anywhere on the field, right?
Why?
Why? Because he can break 18 tackles.
Thank you. But what's the flip side of him breaking 18 tackles? A lot of contact.
He may be questionable a couple weeks or out.
Very violent style of football, and it's week 4, and it's the Cardinals, and they're 14-point. I'm whining, and they're 14-point favorites. It's like, can't they give him a week off? I gave Brandon Ayuk a week off. He's playing this week. Isn't Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, Ray McCloud, and Christian McCaffrey enough to beat Arizona at home?
I would see, Grant. I would applaud the 49ers and Kyle if they did sit him, but I know they sat Ayuk, but like that's not enough for me to say that they're going to do.
It was a Thursday game too.
I need to see it. I need to see it happen with more players in order for me to say, oh yeah, they'll take it easy, let them relax, and save them.
So are you saying that they're concerned about Arizona, or it's a divisional game, so you can't take them lightly?
It's an NFL game, right? So, like, I know the Cardinals are the Cardinals, but it's like,
I mean, they just beat the Cowboys by 12, right? You gotta take them seriously.
Yeah, I think you have to take every team seriously because you don't.
No, you don't.
Listen,
not the Broncos, not anymore.
There hasn't been a team that's gone undefeated since the Patriots, and then the postseason they lost. So, I mean, like, on the right situation, I think any team could pretty much beat. You never know what's going to happen. Like, what if you're playing Arizona and then your quarterback goes down, right? Like, or what if you're playing Arizona and three quarterbacks go down, which has happened, and I know, albeit it was against Philadelphia, right? But like, we've already seen that happen. So crazy.
So
crazy
best guess for the betting public out there, you think Deebo's going? You think best guess?
I'm gonna guess yes. I think yes.
He's trying to get those stats. Okay, but Jauan Jennings most likely not going. I don't know the Niners record without Jauan Jennings, but I don't think it's good. So I'm curious. That's probably great. But
is this Is this another bell time? Is this bell time? Ring the bell. Ring the bell.
Bell time. What do you think of Ronnie? I like Ronnie Bell. I feel like
He's yeah,
be their primary slot receiver next year when Jawan Jennings is making bigger money elsewhere.
yeah. You said I think you tweeted one time. Did Ronnie Bell just
It's
Wally
Wally
Pipp
Pipp. Yeah.
Ayuk?
You got to be at least 35 to know that reference.
Yeah.
Wally Pipp
But
was the first baseman for the Yankees. He took one day off. Lou Gehrig replaced him and never missed a game. Like he was the Iron Man. He just like never, ever, ever not played until the end of his career when he got Lou Gehrig's disease.
yeah, I mean, to me that would be a play straight out of my playbook because if it did come to that, because like I said, I believe you can find wide receivers and you can replace them. I know Ayuk is awesome. He's great, but you've already put so much money in Deebo, and if I'm just saying if Ronnie Bell, if his career keeps ascending like that, I think it might be worth looking into, right? And something that, because I haven't been on the show, we haven't talked about, is that if you look in the past, the Niners are actually pretty freaking good at drafting and developing wide receivers now. Like
Jalen Hurd notwithstanding, but that was a mistake. And aren't the
Jalen
Niners
Hurd
happy?
and the
Aren't they
cat
happy?
guy.
What?
After that, Jalen Hurd and the cat guy, but like you
That's
throw
true.
those two
That's
out.
it.
You throw those two out, like, and if they hit on
Yeah, they're
if they hit
good.
on Bell, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they hit on Kendrick Bourne, didn't pay him, made the right call. He's a good player, but they can replace these guys. Probably not going to pay Jawan Jennings. Someone else will. Like a lot of teams aren't good at drafting and developing wide receivers. I would hope the Niners are good at it because it's the position Kyle played himself. And I never understood what he thought he saw in Dante Pettis. But we don't need to go there because that's neither here nor there. But whatever he thought he saw, it wasn't there and he learned. And Ronnie Bell, when I watch Ronnie Bell, he reminds me of Dante Pettis, just in like their size and their height, weight, speed, and kind of how they move, except Ronnie Bell's like the guy has all the toughness. He's a dog. Dante is not a dog, but neither here nor there. Ronnie Bell. How many catches do you think he's got? Over under 2.5. Over under 2.5.
And he catches the ball. He catches the ball. Like when that ball went up when that ball went up in the end zone. Did you have a feeling when it went up and it was like, I don't know, when it was, I don't know, 5 inches from him? I knew it was going to be a touchdown, right? Like, yeah, he wasn't going to drop that ball.
No, it just, you know what that reminded me of? Remember week 3, 2019, when the Niners eked out that win over the Steelers and Mason Rudolph at home, and Dante Pettis made the game-winning touchdown catch in the front left corner of the end zone. Remember that?
Uh-huh.
How could you forget that epic game? Well, it just reminded me of that play, but better. So, okay, I'm curious to see Ronnie Bell. Without Jawan Jennings, it almost feels like there's more pressure on Deebo to play. Like, because if you don't have Deebo or Jawan Jennings in the starting, then your receivers are Ayuk, Ray, and Ronnie Bell, which frankly, they could beat the Cardinals by double digits with Ayuk, Ray, and Ronnie Bell.
And then
I'd like to see Ray get some playing time on offense. I'm not making fun. I like Ray McCloud. I think he's like the most underutilized player on the team. Take some of Kyle Juszczyk's snaps and give him to Ray. I'm tired of watching Kyle Juszczyk do nothing.
You know what I'm tired of not seeing him play at all is Jordan Mason.
Jordan Mason. Okay, so let's talk about that. Elijah Mitchell, questionable with the knee injury, hurt himself in practice. Hey, if he's less than 100%, how about Jordan Mason?
Remember when they gave Jordan Mason the ball like 3 straight times to close the game out, and because the game was over. The game was over, right? And they weren't going to throw the ball. So they're like, let's. So the defense knew they were giving the ball to Mason, and he's 3 straight times he got positive yards and got the first down. So I just don't understand the reluctance to play him every time. I don't know. Every time I or you've got other content creators out there that watch Jordan Mason play and are like, wow, this guy's great. And they've been kind of banging the table for him as well. At least from what I've seen on Twitter. I just don't know what the reluctance is to play him. Is it, because everything from I've seen, he
Is it the
certainly looks like
fumbles?
he's a back.
Is it the fumble in preseason? I mean, that would be a shame. Let me just tell you real quick. Do you know how many carries he has this season? 3.
5. Oh.
3. And you know
And it
that
was
it was like to close out
the
like
series. It was the series I just spoke about.
yeah. So do you know the stats success rate for running backs? It's like, did you get 40% of the required yards on first down, 60% of the required yards on second down, and 100% of the required yards on third and fourth? So by that statistic, he's 66% success rate on those 3 runs. Elijah Mitchell this year, 25% success rate on 16 carries, averaging 3.3 yards per carry. Don't know what's going on with Elijah Mitchell. Doesn't seem like himself. I think it's time to let Jordan Mason be that number 2 running back. I think he's a perfect complement for McCaffrey. I don't know.
I agree.
I don't know.
I totally. I feel like Grant. I feel like Jordan Mason's going to be what's going to happen with him is it's going to be a situation where he has to play like McCaffrey and Mitchell aren't available. Mason's going to get the ball a lot and he's going to look good, and then he's going to be a free agent. And then
and someone else will get him and actually use him. The Niners always have like 1 or 2 players that they keep on their roster because they know other teams would do something with them, but they don't know what to do with him. Like Ross Dwelly's been that guy for 7 years. They refuse to let him go, but they never use him. And then Richie James was that guy for a while. They just had him here, and then he finally let him go, and now he's like productive. Oh, he's gone. Oh, he's back.
Sorry, I lost you for a second. You're good?
All right. Yeah, you're back. All right, so that's the injury report. Nathan Flores, I'm all over Eli Mitchell. He's a good back, but he can't stay healthy. Mason season indeed. Daza 0187 says, as good as Deebo is breaking tackles, is he worth his salary? It seems like we can get the same sort of production with Ray and CMC.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
The thing is, I don't know if can they even get out of that contract, right? Because if you like looking back at I think if they could probably reverse time, the better move would probably have been trade Deebo, then wait, sign Ayuk, right? Like that's probably
trade.
in my opinion.
Let's take whatever you can get.
Well, I think they would have gotten like a first for him.
Yeah.
Trade Deebo, sign, re-sign Ayuk, and all of that. But like, I don't know if you can get out of that Deebo that contract. I think you would take a big. You'd really have to eat. And right now, the Niners aren't in a position where they could just do something like the Rams did, and just eat all that cap.
I have another question. Would Deebo be as good on other teams, or is he enhanced by the scheme?
I think he'd be. I think part of it is.
I'm not saying he'd be bad on other teams, but would he be as good on other teams?
Which team though? Is he going to Miami?
I feel like this scheme is so tailored to what he does. If you put him on a team where he had to go deeper downfield, or
I don't know. So you don't think Mike McDaniels would know how to use Deebo? I know that
Mike McDaniels would sure know how to use him, but I think it takes a certain level of creativity to get the most out of Deebo.
You think
like you just gave him to the Cowboys, they'd use him in a super basic way. You know what I mean? Like there's all those vanilla teams in the NFL that aren't exactly cutting edge. The Giants, well,
if he went to the Chiefs,
if he went to the Chiefs, he'd be really, really good. If he went to the Raiders, I don't know. I mean, he'd be really good wherever, but I feel like Brandon Ayuk would almost be better on other teams. I don't know that. I couldn't say that about Deebo. And you know why I say that.
Yeah, I do. I'd probably agree with that. I think because Brandon Ayuk would get first of all, he'd probably get more volume of balls, right? Because the Niners don't throw the ball enough in order for you to have all these receivers with crazy stats. That's why these trade ideas. Oh, let's get Mike Evans or let's get Devontae Adams. Like that's not going to work. Like those guys are going to be cool with catching like 400 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like
I wouldn't look at it that way. I bet a lot of players would love to play for the 49ers. Particularly Devontae Adams because he's from here and he's on a terrible team. Like, would Mike Evans rather catch 150 balls on Tampa this year and win 5 games, or come to the 49ers, have his production cut in half, but like win a Super Bowl? I think some players might be into that, particularly guys in their 30s. But I don't know if the Niners are going to add another wide receiver. I doubt that.
Well, I think they'd be cool of it to an extent, right? But like, I don't think they'd be cool. I don't think they'd be cool with half of their production. I mean, they might be good with like 80% of it or something. Like,
that's fair. Yeah, like if Devontae came to the Niners, he would expect that he'd be the number one option. Like, I'm Devontae Adams. You traded for me. I'm not taking a back seat to Deebo or George.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Talking Head says Kyle isn't playing Mason because he's afraid of changing anything and jeopardizing this hot start. He's riding CMC until the wheels fall off. Well, if the wheels of CMC fall off before the end of the season, that's not good. He should be.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to prevent, the wheels falling off specifically.
Like, I remember there was somebody said something to the point, because they were pointing out the offense's efficiency with Christian McCaffrey, and they're like, well, now you can see why Kyle doesn't want to take him off the field. I'm like, well, I think it actually proves the opposite point, right? Where if the offense is that efficient with him on the field, wouldn't you want to preserve him and make sure he's available to you when, like, the games matter as far as winning a Super Bowl? Like, you know, because if he's not there in the playoffs,
and you gave him 25 touches a game, you don't have to be a mathematician to figure out who's culpable.
And it's not only that, Grant, it's like the way they use the running backs, or the way, like, he doesn't do it like, oh, I'm gonna give McCaffrey 2 and then I'll sprinkle in Mason with 1. He'll go McCaffrey like 10 straight, and then he'll bring in Elijah Mitchell for like 5 straight or whatever. Like,
why? It's so weird when you watch the Dolphins, who are the same freaking team, basically, alternating snaps between, not snaps, but carries between Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane. Like, do you have to go to Yale to figure out how to do that? I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't. The thing is, like, I believe that tired players are going to be more apt to be injured, because they're not going to be.
True.
They're not going to be able to have the reaction time to protect themselves from specific, like, in odd situations. So for me, if I want to protect Christian McCaffrey or anyone else, like, if you just had a big run or he's been in for a long period of time, get him out, give him a breather, and get him back in. You don't have to run him like 8 straight times, or put him. And I don't know what the whole thinking is behind that. I don't know if it's like Kyle and his game plan, he needs McCaffrey in order to execute his game plan, and doesn't want another player in, and he has another. I don't know what the thinking is behind it, but there's got to be an alternative.
It's got to be a big picture you're looking at. There's got to be more than just the next play. Yeah. All right. I'm going to change the subject a little bit. What do you think of Javon Kinlaw's resurgence? Is it surprising to you?
In a way, no, right? Because we've talked about this in the show before. There's always, with the Niners, they always seem to get the best out of players when they're in, like, contract year, and the players got to have it. And, like, I think I was watching the show with you and your father, and I think your father said Javon is like, I thought he was playing for his career. I think your father said that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny when players are put in this situation, right? How then they'll succeed. So it's surprising in the way that I wasn't necessarily sure about his knee, but it's not surprising because the Niners seem to get the most out of players when they're in this situation where they need to perform. We've seen it happen before with others. So in that regard, no, not surprised.
What's interesting about the Kinlaw thing is if you haven't watched and you just looked at the box score, it wouldn't really indicate a resurgence. Kind of the same. He doesn't have any quarterback hits. He doesn't have any sacks. He has 2 tackles. But if you have watched, you notice that he's caving in the pocket and creating pressure. What are you seeing on film from Kinlaw?
I think exactly that. I think he's caving the pocket, creating pressure. It looks to me that Wilkes is specifically installing 5 D-line fronts for him to use him.
Thank you.
And he is, and we saw that from the get-go, from early on. He's been able to use his size where, like, how you want him. He's their biggest guy. And he's been, I think he's been pretty effective in the run game. So, and I think that was their whole intent, right? If you remember back to when they traded for Buckner, there was like rumblings like, hey, the Niners want to get bigger inside, right? and then they traded Buckner and they drafted Kinlaw, who was I don't know if he was bigger at the time, but I think is he listed at 320 now?
He might be a little bit smaller now, but yeah.
But he's a big dude. He's a big dude.
Yeah, he is.
And so I think, like you said, it's not a box score thing, but when you watch the tape, he's playing really well.
I think what's interesting about his resurgence is I think Steve Wilks gets a lot of credit. Now, the knee staying healthy. It had been hurt for so long, but at the same time, you're thinking he's young. He just needs like some good luck. So I don't know if I'm surprised or not that his knee's holding up, but it's encouraging and it's a good thing. I think what's interesting is how Steve Wilks is using him. This reminds me of Solomon Thomas with Robert Saleh. High pick, didn't work out. I used to talk to Robert Saleh on the phone and give him ideas because I'm so smart. And I was like, Robert, why don't you try?
Wait, have you given him any ideas lately?
No, I'm leaving him alone. He's in hell right now. Poor guy. So I'm like, Robert, and he saw Solomon Thomas over there. I'm like, why don't you put Solomon Thomas at nose tackle in a 5-man front on a pass rushing down? So you can get him a one-on-one matchup against a guy he can beat. Like I'm sure Solomon Thomas can beat a center one-on-one. And I don't think that Robert Saleh ever took any of my suggestions. I'm not sure why he talked to me on the phone to begin with. I think he liked talking to me. But I mentioned it to him. I don't think he ever did it. It's exactly what Wilks is doing with Kinlaw. Like if you put him at 3 technique in a 4-man front, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, he still has to prove himself, but in a 5-man front where he's one-on-one against the center, there's not many centers who are physically imposing enough to block him. And I saw it in training camp. When they would do one-on-ones, he was going against centers playing nose tackle, and I could kind of see the thinking. And I think it's really smart on Wilks' part.
I don't know that I know that one of the tactics I know that I've used in the past, and I know other defense coordinators in the high school level use is when you get a new center in high school or a center you don't feel as good, you put a player that is far superior on him and just try to get him to freak the hell out and starts fumbling snaps and all that stuff. So obviously, like, not the same thing because these are still NFL players, right? But you know, if you got a guy, yeah.
I mean, like, it's tough for Javon Kinlaw when he doesn't have his pad level down to just physically manhandle, overpower starting NFL guards. Those are big guys. I mean, he learned that the hard way with Laken Tomlinson in practice, but I do think a guy like Kinlaw of his stature and build and power can just manhandle most centers, even with high pad level. And I'm not saying that's the only way they're using him, but it seems like a good way to get his confidence up, man. Just whoop this dude's ass.
I also think from just outside of Kinlaw, I think maybe some of the idea behind it is like Wilks might be saying, all right, we're matching your guys up front big for big. So now if you don't match us big for big, are you gonna have a back to block Kinlaw or
an edge guy,
Armstead, or Hargrave,
Drake Jackson.
So he's kind of ensuring some one-on-one matchups because he knows those bigs have to handle bigs. You know. So I think that might be part of why he's doing that as well. But it's great from a humanity standpoint. Great for Kinlaw. You know, he probably won't get the contract with the Niners, right? But he will get it if this continues, he will get it with somebody. It's not going to be a Javon Hargrave deal, but it'll be enough to support his life.
No doubt. It's a great story. I mean, he was really walking through the valley of the shadow of death for the last 2 years. I mean, his career was on life support. His career was in a coma for like 2 years. And all of a sudden he just pops up like the Undertaker and he's making plays. So I think it's cool. He really had to bide his time and be patient and grit his teeth. And now, like, his life is rolling again. Good for Javon.
The whole Javon Hargrave deal might have played into that in the sense that like now they have a starting defensive tackle where they don't have to just throw Javon out there even when he's not ready like it's not they're not putting so much pressure on him where all right, if you can't play, if you got to sit out for a couple games, then sit out. It's not going to kill our rotation. Obviously, it will hurt the
Yeah.
rotation, but we're not going to lose a starting defensive lineman, right? So
Yeah. And this year he's playing 37% of the snaps, which seems to be a good number right now for him.
yeah.
Okay. Let's talk quarterback. Brock Purdy is now the best quarterback in the NFL, surpassing Patrick Mahomes. It's been official. Yeah, the NFL announced it. No, but seriously, this guy could win the Super Bowl this year. It's nothing to laugh about, sneer about. This guy is good, and he could be the Super Bowl MVP in like a few months. Is there a Super Bowl winning quarterback comparable to this guy?
I thought back to this, and I think the situation that you might be able to compare him to is the last one that Peyton Manning won. Because people ask a lot, like, hey, can you win a quarterback can you win a Super Bowl with a quarterback that has this kind of arm, right? Now, Peyton Manning in his heyday had a better arm than Brock Purdy. But his final season, I mean, people were making fun of his passes, right? Like they got to the receiver.
His defense was crazy, so good.
The defense was crazy. He had Kubiak, a Shanahan disciple, as his coach. So
the original Shanahan disciple,
right? Now there are some differences, right? So like Peyton obviously had almost 20 years of experience to lean on. Yes. So 20 years of experience of anticipation and all that. He was taller, so he could see over a defense, but he wasn't as mobile, right? Didn't have that aspect of the game. And I think if you look back, I think Brock's skill players around him are better. To me, I look at that situation. If you're looking at, can a quarterback like Brock win the Super Bowl? I think if you compare it to the Peyton situation, I think there's some ample comparisons to draw to there, especially with the defense, a good supporting cast on offense, a good offensive coordinator.
Bad offense though. The Niners have a much better offense than that Broncos team had. If I remember correctly. I know they had Demaryius Thomas, and
that's what I'm saying.
But
after Peyton, if I recall, Demaryius Thomas, and was it Eric Decker? They both kind of fell off, right?
Yeah. Well, if you remember that year, Peyton didn't play all the games. He was in and out. They had a lot of Brock Osweiler times, and his name is Brock.
Yeah.
So did he start the season as a quarterback? No, he came in and okay. So if Brock Purdy's Brock Osweiler, then who is the Peyton Manning of this team? Obviously, it's Sam Darnold.
Do you think Florio thought that like Osweiler could be successful? Because Osweiler, it's kind of a strange name, right? Like,
I couldn't believe Florio said that. It was the most I'm childish, but not that childish. Like, that was silly, beyond.
Especially when you have like a guy like that Ben Roethlisberger that once like Ben Roethlisberger, it's like was not like a conventional quarterback, but he was pretty good.
Then you have people that have like really cool names, and I think that's why they get drafted so high. I think the name thing matters, man. Tua, great name. Joe Burrow, freaking rhymes, great name. Justin Herbert, not a good name.
Jim Druckenmiller.
Oh, terrible name. Kind of interesting though. All right, I got one more bonus topic, and then we'll do some other stuff. I got a bonus topic. What I admire and respect about Kyle Shanahan. I want to give him his props. I've been thinking about him. Like, on the one hand, I don't really consider him a coach. I think of him as like, most of the time, I think of him as a play caller and a play designer. But I think that's kind of unfair to say, because the more I think about it, you can't deny that players play really hard for Kyle Shanahan. So whatever you want to say, what his deficiencies are, what his flaws are, and I think he's interesting because I do think he's flawed. We all are. He's a leader of men. There's no question about it. And I don't know that he gets enough props for that. When you ask his players what they like about him, they don't talk about his scheme. They talk about how he leads, all of them. And as someone who's decidedly not a leader, I don't want to lead you. I don't want to follow you. I am an independent contractor. I respect a good leader, and that's Kyle Shanahan.
I'd agree with that. I mean, whether you agree or disagree with his decisions or how or like the perception of the players is overwhelmingly positive, right? Like, and he does produce. If you look at the staff he produces, he's producing a lot of very good coaches. I mean, that's another aspect of leadership as well. There's plenty of things that you not like about Kyle Shanahan, but as you said, we all have our flaws. And what's even better is maybe are you starting to see that he's maybe correcting some of these things now? Like
Perhaps.
For instance, you and I talked about the use of Christian McCaffrey the week prior to the last game. I believe he said he had to get better with that. Started to sprinkle in, and he did, right?
He did.
Now,
Mitchell got 10 carries last week. It was a thing of beauty.
Right. Now, is that going to continue? Is he going to because if Mitchell can't go this week or is limited, is he just going to be like, all right, it's got to be Christian McCaffrey or nothing, or like, is it going to be oh, got to play Deebo because Elijah Mitchell's out, can't play Jordan Mason, and I need to use Deebo as a running back?
Why is Ty Davis Price on the team? What would you say you do? Not his fault, but like, yo, you kept a fourth tailback to not suit him up. Anyway, we're talking about what we admire and respect about Kyle Shanahan. I spend so much time nitpicking him, criticizing him, talking about what he needs to improve on. And I like doing that with Kyle Shanahan because deep down, he's a good coach, a leader of men who's not – I put him on the hot seat so many times, but I've never fired him because he is a good coach. He's just flawed. And I like covering a flawed coach. And I don't know a coach who isn't flawed. Except
and
Josh McDaniels.
And I think another thing, it seems like they're maybe it's certainly an aspect of Kyle, or it seems like overall like they're willing to move off of their mistakes. They're willing to just say, okay, this is a mistake. Let's just move on from it. You know, the Trey Lance situation, the Trey Sermon situation. You know, I think there's been a couple more like that. I think they've been able to learn that they can't just sit on a situation. They could have with Kinlaw, right? They could have went another year. They didn't have to sign Javon. They could have just went another year. Like, oh well, Kinlaw's going to be healthy this year. Let's just plug him in there and go, right? I think they've learned to move on. I think that's definitely part of Kyle.
JCK510 says, I don't think Kyle is a great leader. I think he's a great evaluator of talent and finds leaders around him, and he doesn't try to impose himself as the leader. That's what players respect, in my opinion. It's a good point. And we have criticized him for, you know, having a delegation, the Cabo crew, having a clique, deferring to veterans. But maybe he feels like you can't be a dictator to, you know, the best athletes in the world making way more money than you. Like, you kind of have to be diplomatic and let them lead the team. And he does a pretty good job of that, and they all respect him and they all play for him.
Yeah, it's not like they're a 500 team. I mean, they're getting to the NFC Championship. So like whatever he's doing is actually working. They're just not – they're in the top 4 teams in the league. Like, just there's only one Super Bowl winner, right? So, you know, I think there's this notion that if you don't win the Super Bowl, you suck. Like,
you suck.
It's
the worst. No, I started that notion.
Yeah, you may have.
I started that notion, yeah.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to say that I really respect that about Kyle. I feel like I had an epiphany. Like, I was hanging out with my friend last night, Mr. Hart, my French teacher from when I was a kid, and he thinks I hate Kyle Shanahan. And he's like, "What do you like Kyle?" I was like, "I do like Kyle. I like covering him because he's flawed. It's interesting." And we just kind of went from there. Like, yeah, flawed, but not bad. Like, you know, good play designers, players respect him, players like him.
You like his taste in music?
Not really.
No.
I feel like he's one of these dads who kind of like stopped discovering new music 15 years ago and has the same playlists that he plays all the time, and it's annoying. Also, what else annoys me about him? That's about it. How he like answers questions after losses. He's so defensive. But how he answers questions after wins, he's terrific, man. He's really nice after wins. Gracious.
Do you think like when or if he ever wins the Super Bowl, is just gonna like he's gonna answer every single question that's thrown at him? Like
when he wins the Super Bowl, he's gonna be on the podium, like, and he's gonna be talking to Roger Goodell, and he's gonna be like, "In your face, Grant, right here."
And you're just gonna have to eat it, right?
I'm gonna be like, "Thank you." That's what quality control is all about. All right, just a second. Let's talk about my sponsor for the channel, Prize Picks. If you're into daily fantasy, Prize Picks is the best. Let's do some wagering. Let's place some entries right now for the upcoming game. It's more than or less than 50.5 receiving yards for Brandon Ayuk. Let's start right there. He's good to go. He's going to play more than or less than 50.5 receiving yards for Brandon. What do you think?
Mo?
Yeah. Why?
Mo. He first came back. Brandon Ayuk has been on fire at the beginning of the season. I think they'll probably look to get the ball to him. I don't know that Arizona has the horses to stop him. That's why I think he's going over 55.
I'm going to say Mo as well, because I'm not sure that Deebo's going to play that well. He might be like a decoy Samuel.
But
and
even
Juwan's probably not going to play.
Yeah, I could see that. But even when they are on the field, right, the first two games, he was looking for Ayuk first.
No doubt. Also, name one cornerback on the Cardinals.
Yeah. Okay.
More than or less than 1.5 pass touchdowns for Brock Purdy.
1.5.
Yeah.
More.
This is easy. It's more. The Niners are going to score a lot of points in this game. How did you even have to think about that? More.
I don't know, because I kind of got I think it might be closer than people think, but.
Well, you're wrong.
And I could see, I'm just thinking in my head, I could see Brock running one in,
All right.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay. What about Christian McCaffrey? 17.5 rushing attempts for Christian.
More.
Easy money. That's going to be 24. At least 21. Easy. All right. George Kittle, more than or less than 41.5 receiving yards.
Wow. You know what? More,
right? Because I just don't think Deebo is going to be doing much in this game, even if he.
It sounds like that.
Plays.
If he, the crazy as it is, if he plays, given Mitchell and Shanahan's reluctance to use Jordan Mason, Deebo might get more carries than receptions. Especially being questionable.
Yeah. Last one. Marquise Brown, 45.5 receiving yards, more than or less than.
Say it again. What?
Marquise Brown, more than or less than 45.5 receiving yards against the Niners. Hollywood Brown. Less. The Cardinals are getting worked. I agree. Let's place this entry right here. I'm putting down $20. If I get all 5 of these correct, I get $180. You already know I'm getting all 5 of these correct. Let's place the entry. Bingo! Thank you very much, Prize Picks. If you want to play, you want to sign up, click the link in the description. Right there, baby. All right.
You go.
Thank you, Prize Picks. Let's get.
You don't have a thing. You don't have a code for people to enter, for people to use.
Oh, do I not? Do I have a thing or a code? Hold on. I might have a thing or a code. Yeah. Use promo code Cohn, COHN, and receive a 100% deposit match up to $100. I'm supposed to say that. Prize Picks is great. Everyone plays Prize Picks. Everyone knows about Prize Picks. Thank you for sponsoring the show. Let's take some supers. Yeah, they do now. Great. Now I have to Photoshop Mook Dog on the Undertaker's body. LOL. It's a good image, isn't it? It is. Brooks.
It is.
JT says, you do anything for the upcoming 69K nice subs? No. Taking it in stride. Scribe Mind says, nearest Super Bowl comp is Russ. Young, run-first offense, quick and undersized. Russ is bigger arm, but it's not like the arm. It's the play calling. Yeah.
I think, I could see it. Like, there's not exact perfect comparison, right? Mm-hmm. But yeah.
I can see it. All right, let's talk about this game. The Niners are 14.5-point favorites, and they're going to smash the Cardinals. But if they don't, and the Cardinals pull off the second shocking upset in 2 weeks, how would that happen?
Do you know that Joshua Dobbs hasn't turned the ball over?
Yeah.
I think if Arizona continued that trend, if they protected the football and Brock Purdy turned the ball over, I think that's the recipe for an upset.
Yeah, that's sort of how they lost to the Falcons last year. Mariota protected the ball, ran, sort of kept the chains moving, and Jimmy Garoppolo did his thing. Yeah,
and it's funny that like everyone was goofing on that coach, right? But he's doing a pretty good job over there. Like, I know
they goofed on him because of that one thing he said that one time in that Hard Knocks, whatever.
Yeah, there's been a
okay.
couple of it. I think there's been a couple of videos where he's you're like, but
it's true.
Look,
but he's better than Cliff Kingsbury.
I think he's doing all right. I mean, I know they blew a lead against the Giants, but like the Cardinals aren't a good team. I mean, to even get that league was impressive. They
think they're outscoring opponents by like 30-something points in the first half of the game. Like they're jumping out on teams like the Eagles do. I just don't know if they have the talent to finish it.
I mean, on the positive side, like if the Niners do lose the game, like they could help the Cardinals stay away from Caleb Williams. So
that's true. That's true. But do they even need Caleb Williams? Do they have Josh Dobbs? Okay. What do you think of Josh Dobbs? And how much better than Brock Purdy is he? I mean, how much worse than Brock Purdy is he?
Who do you think Taylor Swift would rather date, Josh Dobbs or Brock Purdy?
Josh Dobbs, because he doesn't have eyebrows. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, he reminds me of. He actually looks like I follow UConn basketball, and he looks like an old UConn player called Charlie Villanueva. Looks just like him to me.
I remember Charlie Villanueva.
Yeah.
How old are you again? 40?
Yeah.
Good age. I remember when I was 40.
Yeah, it's a solid 4-0. It's a good number. Is it? Well, what was it? Was William Floyd 40?
Yep.
I can't remember who's 40. Yeah.
Bar none.
What do you think it looks like if the Cardinals beat the 49ers?
It looks like the Cardinals controlling the time of possession, getting an early lead, running for a lot of yards. But that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Because here's what's going to happen. The Niners defense is going to whoop that ass in this game. They're going to whoop that ass. I'm sorry, but no team whose skill players are James Conner, Hollywood Brown, and Rondale Moore is beating the 49ers unless 800 turnovers happen, give or take. No. This defense is too good. I have too much respect for Kyle Shanahan as a head coach. It's going to be like 34-13. They're going to win by 3 touchdowns. I'm trying to jinx them. I want a good game. They're going to win 80 to. They're going to put up 80. They're going to put up 71 points just because Mike McDaniel put up 70 last week. 80.
Do you think Bosa will have an impact game? Like I know So I'll be the
No.
first to tell.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll be
No.
the first to tell people that he doesn't need to have stats to have an impact, right? But like
Right.
he has been. He's too good of a player to not have a noticeable impact on a game, and he's been. I will admit he's been on a streak since the playoff of not like having that kind of noticeable impact, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
don't think he's gonna have like a
He'll make
3,
an
2,
impact, but they have a good offensive line in Arizona. Anyway, I got to get out of here. Brooks says Dobbs reminds me of the main character from Powder. I don't even know what that means. I got to run, guys. It's been good. Let's do this again, man. Have a good time. Stay up down there. Keep your head up.
We'll do.
All right, man. I'll talk to you soon. See you guys.
Yep.